Why shoot them? We will kill them slowly. Watch me, he said, as he used his assault rifle to batter around the head hostages lying face down. No one dared to raise their heads. Anyone who did so would be immediately punished by a punch in the face. Watch how I will die, said a man as hefty as I am. Then he stepped on me and started kicking his heels against my head.
When one of the hostages stood up and moved slowly, a man in military uniform shot him dead on the spot. He ordered everybody to stand up and said that everybody would be shot dead. And then they ordered us to move towards a highway. When we almost reached the highway in the area of the second military blockhouse, they drove us towards the Cholpan cinema. They poured kerosene on us when we reached the traffic lights near the Cholpan cinema and said that they would set fire on us if we tried to escape.
History witnessed many wars, World War I, World War II and others, but it never witnessed the killing of medical personnel. Even German Nazis or Mensheviks had not opened fire at physicians. The physicians were going to fulfill their duty. The vehicle had all signs indicating that it belonged to medical staff. No matter it is dark or bright time of the day, it is always possible to distinguish this sort of cars as they have special lights on, red cross in their front, right and left sides. It is possible not to notice those signs, but still, despite all those signs, more than 90 shots were fired on it. We were horrified when we saw our colleagues. It was so frightening that my skin shivers every time I recall it. I cannot comprehend it at all. It is hard to believe that people could commit such vile, inhuman acts.
During your recent visit to Uzbekistan, you spent 2 days in Andijan and talked to people. That is, you have an idea of what happened there. Could you tell us your assessment of these events and what you saw there?
You know, as early as 17th May, when I was still in London, programs and interviews on the Andijan events were being broadcast, and I also gave several interviews. I was probably interviewed 15 times, if I'm not mistaken. And they were always saying that many people had died there and it was a colossal tragedy. I agree, that was a tragedy. But from the very beginning, that what happened there, we did not understand. I said that I do not have the facts. What is premature for us to judge what happened there? That is why I asked as soon as I arrived whether I could go there. After we entered the town of Andijan, the officials told me to do whatever I wanted and meet whoever I would like. And they would organize everything. Just tell us and we will do it.
You talked to more than 30 people. For certain they were eyewitnesses to the events. Following their stories, what could you tell us about the reason behind the events? Because foreign media reported that it was peaceful demonstration and 1,000 people died. What could you find out during talks?
Such great numbers as were carried out by the press are unlikely. I myself walked in graveyards and asked the wardens of these graveyards how many new graves they had there, whom they had buried, and I myself had went and looked at those graves. I also had an opportunity to talk to imams. I asked them how many times they had read burial services on those days. Based on all these conversations held in neighborhoods with elderly people and other people, random people we met there, we visited several mosques and madrasah. And based on all this, I got the impression that perhaps 170 people died. Then we visited the main hospital and talked to physicians. I also visited the morgue. It seems to me that it is somehow unlikely that it could accommodate as many dead bodies as they talked about. It is necessary to say and stress that this action, this operation, had been prepared very well. Second, those who took part were experienced militants. They already had a plan of action. And this is why I am convinced that they were not random people and they were not peaceful residents. They were trained and armed militants who wanted to call on people to carry out an uprising. Why did this all take place on a Friday? Probably they hoped that people were gathering for the Friday prayers and they could call on people to rise up. But this did not happen. And then probably a second plan was followed when they understood that they needed to provoke the law enforcement agencies and organize a demonstration in order to do so. But those militants not only seized regional administration, but also set fire to the cinema, drama theater, and private cars parked there. Following all this, I have the impression that they wanted to arrange a big performance in order to have all the journalists filming and showing as if the local authorities did it. But in reality, everything was done by the militants.
You have talked to those hostages in Andijan. Please, tell us what they told you.
Yes, in fact, I was told about this. They described horrible things in detail, such as how a militant, his name was something like Gulom, cut a man's ears off and then shot him dead. Another hostage's eye was poked out. He was all covered in blood and then he was shot dead too. He told us many stories like that. I had quite a long conversation with the hostage and he clearly described everything. However, he was still in shock and he was trembling. His trauma was evident and one could see that he went through horrible hours then.
The number of gathered people